So if you imagine going into the future 10 years from now, and you kind of looking back as the version of you that is 10 years. So if you're 40 now, you might be looking back at your life from being a 50-year-old. And you look back at your opportunities and you look back at your potential. How would you feel if you look back over those 10 years and the potential that you had as a guy in your career, in your business, in your life was never reached? How would it make you feel? What kind of emotions would you go through? So in this video, I'm gonna cover 3 key things. Number 1, I wanna put a definition on what potential actually is. What does it feel like? What does it look like? Why is my potential different from your potential? How to live your potential out. And it's not necessarily about reaching your potential, because I think if we try and reach our potential, it's gonna be that dangling carrot. It's just gonna be out of our reach. So it's about how do we live in the moment in that potential and how do we realize that we're living in it? And then the last part is, what's the first step? How do we go from here to creating that potential? When do we know that we're living there, right? What's the first step? So let's get into it. One of my biggest fears is getting to my late 50s and looking back over the next 10 years and worrying that I never fulfilled my potential. And for a long time, reaching my potential meant lots of different things. Potential initially, when I first started business, was monetary. How much could I earn in a month? How much could I earn in a year? How much could we bring in? And it's because I felt very, if you like, naive to what reaching your potential was. I come from a background where I started off very, very poor when I was a kid. When I left the military, I took a huge pay cut and was very, very poor there. When I started my business, in fact, I was in survival mode. So I left my job, I started my side hustle, had very, very little money, had to work very, very hard. So I was always like, what's my potential? And everybody that I listened to and all the gurus and all the coaches were like, you can earn this a month, you can get this a month. So of course I was influenced and my mind was programmed to reaching your potential is monetary. If I reach X amount of money, I'm gonna reach my potential. And as I'm going through certain stages of my life, that kind of changed. I kind of got lost about what potential actually was. And it was very painful because I was kind of like trying to achieve a mission, but I didn't know what the mission was. I didn't know what my potential was. I didn't know how to define it until somebody asked me a question and they said, can you tell me what your definition of potential is? And normally I'm quite quick at replying back to something. And I couldn't answer honestly at this level. So I thought about it and I come up with 2 things. So these are my personal definitions, and what my definition of reaching your potential is personal to me. And the thing that you've got to go away and understand is, what does reaching your potential mean for you? So there are 2 different things we have to understand here. I'm not telling you the right or wrong. I'm just giving you an example so you can go away and work out what yours is. So the first thing is making decisions that allow me to feel content with the life that I've lived. So that means exploring experiences, being around people that make me laugh and that I love. It means making decisions that allow me to move my life forwards in the right direction. And it's this like kind of content thing. So instead of feeling lost, I feel content. And when you feel content, you feel happy. And feeling happy is one of those emotions that is really important to me. I've never really stopped to really think about that. And when I think about happiness, I want it to be happy within my role, in my career, happy with the progress that I'm making, happy with the clients that I serve on my professional side. But also on my personal side, it's like being happy in the life that I have, around the people that I have, in the small things. So when I find that content piece, that then allows the happiness to spread through right across, right? So my potential is making decisions, is taking actions, is learning to build a mission that allows me to be or feel contentment, which then spreads into an element of happiness. So we look at this from a diagram and how when we work with guys on this, a lot of the time when guys come to work with us, they kind of feel like, man, there's something missing here. Like I want to reach more of my potential, but I don't know quite how to because we're in survival mode, right? So I've given you my example. And for a lot of guys, the mission, if I was my own client, I was coming in, all right, my mission is I want to feel more content. That's how I know that I reach my potential. So everything that I do is about reaching more contentment. I know that when I get here, I'm reaching and living my potential. So I feel content, I feel at ease, I feel like, man, everything is in order. And that brings calmness, fulfillment, but most importantly, happiness, like I mentioned. Now we run off 5 core pillars. These are our mission balance code. So we've got health, personal development, relationships, business, and fun. So if my mission is to make myself more content, I will make myself happier, more fulfilled in each one of these pillars. So if I'm doing that, I'm living my life to my potential. if at any point this gets disconnected and I'm going back this way into the chaos, I don't get to feel this. And because I don't feel this, I don't live out my potential. And because I don't live out my potential, all of these things are misaligned. So how do we go about living to our potential? How do we go from the place that we're at now to the place where, and I could find that contentment or whatever that keyword is for you? So there are 3 steps here, and I'm going to take you through each one, and I've got some resources in the description for you to be able to help. So number 1, we have to figure out, where are you right now? In order for us to there's our potential, it's over there, we can see it, we want to get to it. How do we get there? So we have to understand where you are now. How do you operate? How do you perform? How do you think? How do you kind of play out your life right now? And because we're so busy all of the time, with that grind mentality, we're overthinking, we're not really paying attention to actually what's going on in our lives. We're just surviving it, right? It's kind of like surfing a wave, but it's not a wave that we want to be on. So what I put for you in the description is what we call a audit. It's a high performance audit. It's 12 questions, and it's going to help you figure out exactly where you are right now. What are the gaps? What are the areas we're falling down? And at the end of it, you'll kind of get a report and like a mini blueprint to be able to help you take the next steps. It's all free, right? And that will help you figure out where you are, because if you don't figure out where we are, we don't really know what we've got to change, okay? Step 2 is figuring out how to stop these 3 things. Now, these 3 things came out top in a poll of things that stop people reaching their potential. Number 1 was chaos. Number 2 was being in a reactive state. Number 3 was living in a survival mode, being on this boat, if you like, and just surviving. So in order to do that, we have to kind of build up 3 opposites, if you like. So the opposite for chaos for me is control. And this is what we do for a lot of our guys. We're like, how do we build control systems in their life so that they're moving and living towards their potential rather than being on that sailing boat of survival, right? With no bearing and no sail. Always imagine that. If you're not on your power boat, powering to the place that you want to be, if you're not on your battleship, you're on this boat with no sail and no bearing. And instead of being reactive and reacting to life, we're being more proactive. So we're thinking further ahead, we're being more disciplined, we're planning better. It allows us to actually think about, are the things that I'm doing now intentional to get me to the place where I want to be? And then we're going to go from that survival to that thrive. So we're going to come off that boat with no sail and no bearing. We're going to get on the battleship. We're going to drive forwards on our mission. All right. So when we look at step 3, there are 2 key frameworks that we use for guys in our mission program, SRS and TEF. So SRS is your structure, your routine, and your systems. And then your TEF is how you manage your time, your energy, and your focus. So when we implement that structure, those routines and the systems to keep that consistent over a period of time, the management of your time, energy, and focus is just a byproduct of that. And when we have these things, 3 things happen. Our mindset shifts from a state of just feeling like you're playing a bit part in life to you're taking control of your life. Your standards go from average, mediocre, underwhelming to high. And when you go to high standards, you do things differently. People see you differently. The outcomes that you achieve are different. And your actions change, and people notice that. So instead of scrolling on your phone, you put your phone away. Instead of coming home and moaning and complaining, you're asking how everyone's doing. Instead of dwelling and overthinking and catastrophic thinking, you're thinking, how can I be more proactive and take action to solve this problem? And this puts you in the state of living your potential. So there is a way that we can help you change this for 5 days for free to come and work with us. Down here is a video that explains how the 5-day mission reset works. And if you like the looks of that, you can then go to the description and you can register for free for our next one. In there, we spend 5 days with you in our community, with the guys that we work with, the guys that invest in themselves, to be able to build the standards, the mindset, to be able to build the control, the proactivity, the thrivingness, right? The thrivingness, I think I might have just made that word up, to move you in the right direction so that you are living your potential. You're building your mission, building that man, and living that potential. So go and check out this video right here. And this will explain a little bit about what we're doing. And hopefully we will see you on the inside where we can do some more work together on a more personal front.